after we covered the tools to talk about adjustments. So adjustments, if you look in this right panel, over here in the middle, there's a tab called adjustments. And these first three, brightness, contrast, levels, and curves, as well as exposure, these affect the lightness and darkness of the photo. There's another couple. Here's vibrance and then hue and saturation. Also color balance. These affect the colors in the image. There's another one, black and white. Obviously it also affects color. And then some other ones that I don't use that much. So take a look at this picture here. This is a picture of Niagara Falls we were just recently at. It was an overcast sky. It was towards the evening. It kind of looks very blue. It was taken during the blue hour. But let's say I didn't want this picture to look so blue. You can affect that with an adjustment. So the nice thing about adjustments is they change the way the image looks, or whatever your artboard has on it, without really affecting the actual pixels. It's acting just like a filter laid on top of the photo. So over here there's one called color balance. So you'll see it's its own layer, and it has its own mask applied to it. I'll talk about masks later. In other words, you don't have to apply it to the whole image. You can just apply it to parts of the image if you want. So I'm just going to come up and let it affect the entire image. I'm going to come up to this slider yellow and blue, and I'm going to go away from blue and towards yellow and see if we can make this look a little different. Okay, not terrible. Let's take a look. I'm just going to click this little visibility indicator. So that's off and that's on. Not bad. I think it has a little more warmth now. Would I change any of the other sliders? I don't know. I could see doing that. Seems like when I go towards green, it doesn't look very good. When I go towards magenta, it kind of looks a little more clear. So I actually like that. So I might see if I can go a little farther with yellow and maybe a little farther with magenta. And now let's take a look before and after. Yeah, that looks much better. So that's an example of an adjustment using color balance. If you don't like the adjustment, you can drag it to the trash or just hit delete. So that's that picture. Let's see, let's go to this picture. So in adjustments, the first 3 or 4 are used for affecting the brightness and darkness of different things. So in this picture, here we are on a ferry. We're kind of dark. The rest of everything is really light. So let's see if we can fix that with a levels adjustment. So this is a histogram of the picture. So it shows you on the left is all the darks in the image. In the middle is all the midtones in the image. And on the right is all the bright colors and whites. You can see like there's a good distribution of brights, and then there's a little bit of darks that spike here, and then there's not as much in the midtones. So you can move these little sliders at the bottom to reset which areas are going to be darker or lighter. So this doesn't seem to be helping us. I'm going to leave that alone. I am going to take the midtones and I'm going to raise them, and that's going to bring the brightness of Kayla and I up a little bit. Now, if I was to move this slider, that would make the background even brighter. And that doesn't seem to help. I think what happens is at this point, it says everything past this is overexposed. And that's why it looks so blown out. Well, I don't want to do that. But if I scroll down just a little bit more, I can grab the brights here and I could bring them down. This doesn't make it look as blown out, but it kind of takes away from the color. So just something to be aware of. Is it better? Well, you can toggle on and off the visibility to see if it looks any better. It's at least more visible. Because this is a JPEG image, JPEG images have less flexibility in photo editing than like a raw photo from a better camera. But in any sense, I do think it looks better. But let's say that you only wanted to affect Kayla and I, and you didn't want to change the background. Well, you could do that. You have to make a selection. So here, I'm just going to click on this. This is actually a mask. I'm going to click on this mask, and then you use the paintbrush. If you paint black, it hides. If you paint white, it shows. So here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. If I make this brush a little bigger and I start painting, you will see black appear right here on this mask. Any area that's black, the filter won't apply to. You can kind of see it's making the background go back to its original. Something like that. There we go. So now you can see this layer is just affecting everything that's shown in white, which is basically Kayla and I. So if you see that there, it's affecting really just us. So in this sense, I can go back in and change whatever I want to change to the point where it only affects Kayla and I. So I can open this back up. And I can make us make the midtones brighter, and I can make the darks a little darker to where it looks a little more natural. So now if I take this on and off, now it looks better. So that's an example of an adjustment. So this is a levels adjustment. I'm going to go ahead and close this. Okay, let's go to this photo. So we did levels and we did color balance. I wanted to do one with either vibrance or hue and saturation. So I'm going to click vibrance. So there's two things you can change. There's vibrance and saturation. Vibrance is making colors that aren't as vibrant more vibrant. So in this case, it would be like the greens and the blues, like things that are more muted. Saturation will affect things that are very colorful. So as I move this around, you can kind of see what saturation does. It makes those oranges and those reds really pop. It's almost like fluorescent. Whereas vibrance will affect the other colors. So it's like they're almost opposite, at least in my thinking. So I'm going to increase the vibrance to say 45, and I'm going to move the saturation up to somewhere around 20. It's a little colorful. Let's move it down just a little bit, 14. Okay, and then let's toggle this off and on and see how that looks. Okay, yeah, that's much better. I think the haze in the air kind of gets in the way of seeing some of the color from the distance. So I do think that looks better. You could apply a levels adjustment to this as well. So I have a vibrance layer now, and then I have a levels adjustment layer. So the same thing applies. I can make the midtones a little brighter and then bring down the darks. I'm going to leave the sky alone. Okay, now do I like that? You can see a little bit of a difference. Again, it's harder to edit JPEG files than it is to edit like raw files. So yeah, there you go. The last adjustment I wanted to show you was black and white. So if I click adjustments and I go down to this black and white filter, this is actually a pretty good automatic application. So the cool thing about the black and white adjustment is instead of it just deciding what to make black and white, you get to choose. It deciphers all this by color. So there's reds, yellows, greens, cyans, blues, and magenta. So if I toggle this off, you can see, for example, my jacket is blue. So the blue slider will affect my jacket. Is there anything else in the picture blue? No. So this should really just affect my jacket. And I can make my jacket lighter if I'm really wanting a lighter color, or if I want to make it darker, I can go even to black. You have like ultimate control over what colors are dark or light, which is really cool. Sometimes there's an image where the color is off just enough and it doesn't look good, and you can take away that distraction by just making it black and white. So it's easy to, again, take the visibility and just toggle it off and kind of see where different colors are. So there's a lot of oranges in the pumpkins. I don't necessarily have an orange slider, but you'll see some of the warmer colors affecting different things. So this seems to affect Kayla's lips and her shirt. I will leave that towards the darker end. Let's see if cyan affects anything. So we can move this. Looks like there's cyan obviously in my coat. I'm just going to leave that where it was. Let's see about green. So the plants back there are green. I'm going to leave that towards the brighter side. Here's the green layer. Oh, I just did that. Here's the yellow layer. Makes sense that there's yellow and green together. And let's see about the reds. So reds, I think about skin tones. So you can see that does affect the face. So it's a good idea to be cautious when using this one. And it seems like it's affecting the pumpkins. So let's go with something like that. So that's not bad. So we'll toggle off the black and white and back. I like it. So it seems like the picture is crooked. Of course it was handheld, so I mean that's expected. I like it when black and white photos have really good contrast. There's really dark darks and there's really light lights. Black and white photos, sometimes when they're not adjusted manually like this, sometimes they just look very muted and there's a lot of gray tones and not so much brights and darks. So it makes an image pop if it has more contrast. So anyway, I think that is where I will stop. I'm going to go ahead and not save this. So that is an overview of adjustments. You might use these in pictures that you put in your scrapbooking. So I at least wanted to cover them and mention them now. And we will, I'm sure, touch them again sometime soon. So that's it for now, and I'll see you next time.